mate Jared, and there's this Brazilian tune that he plays in the middle of his set, like as a palate cleanser and it just get people dancing.
Yeah,
it's like the most light and happy song, and then
who's it? Do you know? Remember what it was?
I might be able to.
I love that kind of thing. Like you can go anywhere and you drop that.
Yeah,
and then it's like everywhere. It's neutral again.
It's neutral again. It's neutral again. And then,
I love that.
But he was like, Google the bars and what he's actually saying, and it's all just like the craziest, smokiest gang shit.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I have this when I play like stuff from Dominican Republic, like Dembao or like Puerto Rican stuff, which is like a lot of that you can hear in this more so, but a little bit in that, and like some of them are like, I've got a Google Translate.
Yeah,
this is like, you know,
this could be
some of it is
bad.
Like, some of it's hella misogynistic and sexist. And like, there's a level where it's kind of like, you know, I'm a sexy motherfucker. But then when it's like, if I actually play this to a Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking person, they're gonna be like, what the fuck?
That's not okay. That's not okay for public. You've got to do your research. You've got to do research.
100%
has to be done. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Resting Place podcast. I am Dapo Agiri and I am really pleased to be joined by Ed, aka Edible.
Pleasure.
How are you, mate?
Here, man. It's been a long time in the making.
It's been a long time in the making. This is going to catch you off guard because I just thought of this question now.
Go on.
Do you remember when we first met?
Voices.
I
came in after you and Barney were doing your show.
Yes.
You were doing a roundup of... must have been
me
23.
saying that it would have caught you off guard. You're spot on, yeah.
Been 23 or was that 22?
It would have been roundup of 22.
Because your favourite was Little Sims.
Which was Sometimes I Might Be Introvert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
my memory is normally like a broken Sim.
That was perfect. It's
clearly being in the room.
It's throwing you back into the moment.
From that point on, has been consistently bumping into each other at different gigs.
At different gigs and festivals.
Like now I'm sure Fortet was one of them, Ali Pali.
Ali Pali, yes. We out here this year just
exactly.
gone. Forwards Festival in Bristol.
There was another one, I can't remember what it was. We had another one. Like it's happened about 5 or 6
It's happened a lot.
times.
Our patching habits are
eerily
similar.
It's nice to be intentional.
I know.
Get in here and actually chat, you know.
It's nice to have you on. I think since we had... I think I remember what you were doing afterwards as well. I think... Were you doing a best films soundtrack?
With Ralph.
With Ralph, you were.
He's my day dot film school bestie. And exactly, we were doing a film soundtrack special that I think, good memory also. Open with Johann Strauss, like from 2001 A Space Odyssey, Blue Daniel Waltz. Wow, all this memory. I can't remember what I had for breakfast. But,
honestly, I couldn't tell you what I did at work today.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
The
important stuff sticks. That's core memories right there. And now 2 years down the line, I finally got the man, the myth on my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I guess the best place for us to start, if you could tell me a little bit about what you've got going on right now, because you are a man of many, many parts.
Yeah.
Many parts.
Spinning occasional plates somewhere, some not. I guess it's all pretty much events and music heavy with a lot of other things sprinkled in, but I work at a venue that is for my sort of 9 to 5 day job, which is a folk venue, folk arts charity venue, so... which is great. It meets some amazing people.
But you get some interesting people coming in and out all the time.
I was not really like, folk music is sort of, or it's particularly English folk music, because it's the English Folk Dance and Song Society. And I kind of do the venue hire, so
nice.
all the anything, weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals, you name it. But then, it was all kind of quite new to me. But it's been a kind of a bit of a baptism by fire, because I think I came into it more through like world music sort of scene, for other like Latin American and Brazilian and kind of African music and Middle Eastern stuff. So it was sort of, I found it in an unusual way, but it's kind of nice in that way. So I came full circle. I'm like,
you ended up back home.
I didn't exactly. I didn't need to go that far, but But then, yeah, I guess now recently, so I'm repping the brand as I say.
Yes, as
But
you should.
yeah, absolutely, get the merch on. But Earth Groove is kind of my own sort of project outside of that. So it started off as a radio show where we met, and voices, and then it's kind of blossomed into events collective. I did my two friends, Alex and Anira, and various other people kind of who are either already immersed in the like event scene or you know, sort of getting into it and really like have amazing record collections like there's Chloe and Shabba, but you know, it's nice everyone's sort of finding a little like collective spirit, you know, which is really nice.
What's the sort of niche or USP of Earth Groove for those?
I guess we've been doing it, every event has been in a different venue and has had a different flavour or theme or, you know, content. So like we were talking about earlier, started off at Moco as a like more listening bar kind of thing, and then we were at the Fiddler's Elbow, which was like a party.
Oh, sick.
And we did a day party at Two Tribes Campfire. It was an all day thing with a market.
Unreal.
And then the last one just gone was at just down the road actually, Bar Donia.
Yes.
And we had like poetry, live music. Mason Montaniero, who's a Colombian singer, sort of plays traditional Colombian folk music with synths, and then we had DJs as well. But yeah, it's a sort of evolving thing, I guess.
I love that.
I don't necessarily know what it is.
No, but I feel like let it be what it is.
Yeah,
Every time
see
you
where
get
it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. I like the idea of you being able to let it take whatever shape.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of freedom to
and with
evolve.
other people.
Yeah,
well,
exactly,
you know.
And bringing people with their own interests, their own passions,
give
their
them
own
space to do their thing.
Love that. If you enjoy doing it, if it's something that sparks joy, this has been a big thing for me at the moment, is getting into spaces and doing things that I know is what I want to be doing. Regardless,
enjoy it.
Regardless of like what comes out of it, regardless of like what the net benefit is for like future and things like that. Like, what do you want to be doing?
And the process of it more so than the end goal.
The end goal,
because you kind of, I don't know about you, but I kind of have to consistently remind myself of
100%. And I think I have sometimes I can suffer from a negative voice where you have expectations of where you want to be, but it's like, okay, well, where I want to be is doing this thing, but doing it for more money, or doing it on a larger scale, or with more time or more resources, whatever it may be. But like, the first thing that I want to be doing is this thing. Like, I want 100%. I want to be working in a creative space. I want to be working within music. I want to be connecting with people that I have like a similar mindset to. So like that should be the driving force. Exactly. Take appreciation from that. But it's difficult.
It's easier said than done. And I think, like, you know, when you reach these certain like milestones, or, you know, like everyone's more money to exist is kind of a necessity, and it helps. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to channel that with Earth Groove a little bit. It's just sort of like do it for the right reasons. You know? Do it to have, like, put on some funny, because it just was like all of our circles of friends wanted to go to stuff, or particularly where I started with Alex and Anira. Wanted to go to stuff and we were, but I was like, why aren't we doing this ourselves? You end up, once you go behind the curtain, and then you realise that, like, you end up going for events in particular, if I just change that lighting quickly, or the sound's not quite right. All part of the process.
All part of the process.
Exactly.
All part of the process. That was a really good, I think, overview of where you're at and who you are, and give us a bit of a flavour of yourself. But I think the thing that will give the best indication of who you are as a person is your choice of snack.
Oh, hell yeah.
Your choice of snack is just up my street, man.
I thought I had to bring the living embodiment for camera's sake.
Also, this is just a reference for people coming on future episodes. Snacks are welcome. Snacks,
I've set the standard.
You set the standard. The bar is high. Good snacks and like examples, so we can taste test. We won't do it on screen.
I think maybe we can do like an outtake, so it's just like a minute of us chewing and then going
enjoying, savouring is what it is.
I can't remember what they're called. Is it La Bombe? There's the French ones, are the OGs. They're the ones that like they're the top dollar, and that was always my like go-to. I mean, it used to be a luxury, but now I'm just kind of like, I'll part with that money for that, you know. It's worth it.
Again, it's doing things for the right reason. This is what I want to do right now.
I want to try some French or Spanish grandmas. Because there's the French style and there's the Spanish style of Madeleine cakes.
Yeah.
But I want to...
Do you have a preference? Just out of interest.
French, probably. French with lemon is like the best.
I'm a
I actually got bought these as a present, so again, the timing was unbelievable. Because I was thinking in the back of my head, I'm going to buy one of those, but for at work, for a job well done, I got given those.
Don't you just love it when a plan comes together?
Hey,
yeah, honestly,
magic.
now I have a question that is:
Go on.
What are your plans for festival season 2025?
Oh, it's so hard. We normally always go to this festival called WOMAD in Wiltshire.
Oh yeah,
which is beautiful. It's called the World's Festival. It's not happening next year. They're taking a rest year because they're changing the site.
Okay.
In some ways, that's kind of lovely because we just have a little break.
time.
We're going to try for Glasgow.
Yeah,
Got a friend who's got the link. Never been before.
Neither have I. That would be a real progression of art.
The next meeting would be intentional.
At Glasgow.
Yeah. Do you know what? It would probably happen that we both go, forget to tell one, and we bump into one.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, but
it's got to be here as well.
I think I've got to again.
Yeah.
That was one of the best. That was one of the best weekends. I mean, we out here rolled into Lost Village, which I'm probably not going to do again this year, just for like the sake of my health
I did
and
3 last year, and it nearly ruined it.
But everything that I do will be dependent on whether I get Glasgow tickets.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to centre all around that. And we were going to go to Deck Mantle because it's normally in Amsterdam.
Yes.
But I think they moved it to Croatia this time. So we might just go to Amsterdam and go clubbing there. And go actually spend some time in the city.
It's a good night out. Amsterdam.
Have you been?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to. I mean, I think it gets so, because we were talking about someone to Ibiza this year, it kind of gets stigmatized as like, oh, it's the party island, or people go to take mushrooms and smoke weed. It's like, there's so much more.
So much
beautiful
there,
galleries, architecture,
100%,
music scene and club scenes.
Great music scene.
Where did you go? Do you remember?
The small clubs I cannot remember.
No.
The thing that I can remember is I saw Bonobo at Paradiso. Which was Paradiso? I'm pretty sure is
that's the one I've heard before.
It's like a renovated church or something of that capacity, like 360 stage. I was there the day we landed, straight from airport hostel Paradiso, and I was like, this is one of the best nights out I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Was it like a live show, or was he doing
DJ set?
Yeah.
DJ set. But it was...
He's got a lot of genres spanning. Like, he goes here, there, everywhere.
And it was one of those ones where, when you're telling your friends to go to somewhere. They're like, oh, I'm not really sure. I was like, guys,
just go.
We're going.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've bought a ticket. So whether you want to come is neither here nor there. But like, just buy one.
Yeah.
And everyone left was like,
so glad we did it.
So glad we did it.
You need the group leaders.
Sometimes you just do, and I'm happy to step back sometimes. But when it comes, I know Bonobo is quite a transcendent. Like whether it's live or DJ set, most people will hear something and find something that they like.
It's quite universal, isn't it? And it's very sort of. There's like an ethereal kind of uplifting.
The word.
Yeah. Both in his production and also I think the stuff he chooses to play.
Exactly. Yeah,
there's a sense of like, I don't know, lightness, which I love. Oh, that sounds magic.
It's a good night out. I would recommend if you do go to Amsterdam, see what's on at Paradiso while you're there. And it was like 25 quid a head as well. Like, it's so worth it.
Gorgeous.
We've been yapping for like a good hour. This is on and on camera.
That's why I'm glad I asked. Is this thing going to get edited?
It's just going to be a 3 hour long podcast. But I am super excited to chat about the album that you brought on. The eagle-eyed amongst you might have seen that we actually have some decorations today.
Voila.
If you could tell the people at home and those who are not watching on YouTube, watch on YouTube, what you have chosen and why.
It was a tough choice between
many
of the other ones we'll go through, and even which one from this artist. But ultimately, I went for something that is like very close to my heart for a multiplicity of reasons. But it's Rosalia's 2018 album Mal Querer. It is just epic. Is probably the main, way I can describe it. It's so multifaceted for a song that is for an album that is 11 songs long and 30 minutes. That's it. The amount it packs in.
It doesn't feel like it, does it?
No, not at all. It feels so much longer in the best way possible.
I know what you mean.
Just the amount of depth it's kind of got to it. But I mean, not that the accolades are everything.
An end all,
but it is a good indication that it won the Latin Grammy Awards for Album of the Year. And then it's in Rolling Stone's top 500 greatest albums of all time, which is crazy for
an album released in 2018 as a uni project.
Exactly. This was her batch, her graduation, undergrad
dissertation
in musicology at I think it's Catalonia University. It was her final piece, basically. Which I think about the quality of my final piece on your films, like leagues above. But it's an incredible piece of work, and I mean, it's sort of like I was saying, epic is probably the best way I can describe it, but. It's a sort of fabled. I think I said earlier it's kind of allegory, but it's not because it's sort of all out. This is the story, based upon. I'm going to try and get this right. A 13th or 14th century story of Catalan. So she's from the north side of Spain, the Catalan region. I was trying to remember where. It's a very specific region that I hadn't heard of or been to. I'm probably going to butcher this. This is also the thing we talked about. Spanish pronunciation right. Get away with.
Let me brush off my Spanish. Let me see. That is Catalan.
Which is a different
That's a different language.
Entirely.
Don't speak it. Don't speak it. I'm holding my hands up. Don't speak it.
Okay, from the north of Spain in the Catalonian region. But the story of El Mal Querer is based upon of unknown origin. Like, I think with many folktales, no one really knows how to start it, and then many people have told it, which I guess is sort of the beauty of it. But about a woman who marries a man, always prophesies something monumental and dark will happen in her life, but not necessarily what or to be where, but finds a man and falls in love. They fall in love with one another. They get married, and it's essentially an abusive relationship. A story across time, which I guess makes it, which we'll get onto, but makes it so much more relevant in the modern era. And he's encased within jealousy, and it's essentially imprisons her. But it's kind of a fable or mythology made relevant in today's, and done in flamenco bolero style, but with kind of a reggaeton undertow, R&B. There's so many different flavors and some more experimental kind of stuff in there. Her as an artist, I mean, I was sort of did my research. I've had a couple of days of like just listen to the albums and the singers. It's got to be done for this. But I did a kind of deep dive and listened to different interviews and stuff. And I think that she's always, Rosalía has always said that she sort of felt like she was going to be a performer from day dot. Not necessarily knew she wanted to produce music, but was always kind of going to be a performer in some, she's like 32 years old and already has made 3 amazing albums that are all very varied. So just to give some context, the first album, Los Angeles, is kind of more of a classic flamenco boleros style, which she's crestily trained, in that. I had a sort of traditional flamenco master, and then this is somewhere, El Mal Querer. Yeah, exactly. It's not only a progression, but they work as a kind of trilogy.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I think it's not to cut you off, but I think when you look at the 3 albums together, it is a very clear story for who she is as an artist, and like they are snapshots for where she is 100%. in life. I think when you look at El Mal Querer, it's way more. I think the word that I'm looking for is real. It's like this is somebody who's not necessarily in the limelight. This is not necessarily even when you listen to the production of it, it's all very low budget. It's not
done in a bedroom. This was El Grichon, I think. El Grichon. It was all done in his bedroom pretty much, and this was the thing that made her blow up, as we all know, as like the global superstar that she is now. Well deserved. But I was reading that she sort of sank a load of her own money into it and nearly kind of bankrupted herself.
It was a make or break.
Blew up, like it was the thing that sort of made her rise to acclaim, and deservedly so.
And then you then take Motomami. We won't get onto it too much because I'm sure we'll speak about it later. That is you still have the sonic roots of where she came from and the classic classical training, and the vocals in that sense. But then the production value, the style is way more contemporary. It's way more like I think universal in what it appeals to, and 100%. It's just the perfect transition. You kind of just wait to see where she
goes. And I think there is the next step. I'm interested to see. Because my colleague actually was telling me today that she did this song with someone called Ralphie Chu, who's like a really cool producer from Madrid. But I don't know if it's going to come like full circle a little bit, or like I think it will be a completely different vision. Judging by interviews and that sort of thing, it's like it's going to be a different trajectory.
There's an argument to say that like the project that you make, once you are there, once you are at the top of the hill, is one of the most difficult to get right, because you've got this sort of trilogy, whether they're intentionally or not linked together. These three projects that have kind of tracked and marked your progression to a certain point. Do you then continue further? Is there another step that you take? Do you go for something completely different? The example that I always think of when it comes to this is when Childish Gambino released Awake in My Love. Unbelievable album. Took a few months for me to settle with it, because I was like, this isn't what I asked for.
Different
and with no absolutely no kind of prior warning. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, this isn't what you do. And then you listen to it, and then you appreciate it. It's a beautiful.
You've got to come full cycle back to things. Sometimes and it's interesting. I'll talk about this, more, but there's an amazing podcast that Rosalía did with Rick Rubin. And they were talking about that in terms of like, you're going to lose fans when you evolve, and you're constantly in evolution as an artist, and you're changing. That you're going to gain new fans, you're going to lose fans. But I agree with you. There's so many examples of that where I listen to something the first day, I'm like, that's not what I was expecting, or I was not necessarily what I wanted at that time.
It's not what
and
I signed back. You come back to it and you're like, actually,
it takes on a whole different.
To be honest, if I'm being actually fully transparent with you, that is probably how I feel about El Mal Querer, because I think 2018, when I first heard it, was I wanting and caring about music that was rooted in classical flamenco styling? Not massively, not massively. No. And the thing that I always take from this album, because I sing from time to time, but I learnt to sing in opera.
Oh wow!
And so that was, so I did that when I was like 10 years old or whatever.
And the stuff that you sing now is more.
I kind of made opera through into musical theatre. Musical theatre, started doing features for people here and there, and now I don't sing at all. I try to pick up where I can. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose it. You sing in the shower all the time.
You never lose it.
But this album is so. And it makes so much sense with the storyline and the actual. I love the idea as well of having each song as chapters as well. It's little things.
But 11 chapters altogether, but it tells such a beautiful story.
But it is so
heartbreaking.
It's so dark.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the 7th chapter. It's a woman, the perspective of another woman looking onto her, as in, from the outside perspective. And I think she describes Rosalia's character as beautifully sad, which I think encapsulates it pretty well.
The 7th chapter is Baghdad, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the song that
Crimea River.
It's almost Crimea.
At first I thought, like, I saw Justin Timberlake's name and I was like, is he involved? Like, surely not. And I think he just took that melody and made it something new.
And I was like, which I really like, and it's interesting. And this is pure conjecture, so if I'm wrong, strike me down.
No.
But for the only song to have like a distinct, noticeable Western, American, contemporary rhythm and melody behind it, to be from somebody else's point of view, is quite a nice. When it's coming from her, it is it's still rooted in that classic Spanish flamenco sound. And obviously this is again conjecture, but I think the use of a different style of like songwriting to articulate someone else's point of view is super clever. Like 100%. If I was marking this as
this
is more than what you needed.
Exactly.
This is such a
as the uni marker.
You'll be
the
like,
professor kind of would
you'd be blown away.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean,
this is the thought that goes.
The design as well. I mean, we can't really I'm not going to hold this up to camera, but like if you can find the concept artwork to this. It's just something else. It's so I don't know, glorious, and kind of it feels very biblical. And I think that hers in a personal life as a person is quite spiritual and religious, and you kind of get that sensibility, but it's also inverting it and playing with it. It's kind of got this mythic, folkloric sensibility to it, and hence the root of the story. But like done so fresh and so modern.
I love how like bravely experimental it is. Like there are a lot of things done in this album, from the like sound, from the lyricism, from the concept to the artwork, everything that goes along with it, that could have easily just fell flat on its face. Like, it is a motivational thing for me, where you can see that there is an artist who is making something that is not really been seen before. It doesn't exist yet.
Well, exactly. He's taken something old and shining a new light on it, basically. And that's why I think, coming like full circle, that's just kind of like why I chose it. And what I love is something traditional or roots music, but done in a modern kind of electronic way. Because it's classically, I guess it comes on to one of your questions in a bit of like it technically, is it good? And I think that
let's answer the question.
Go on.
Is it?
Is it technically good? I mean, she studied traditional flamenco and a master for 8 years, so I think in that side, her vocal range is masterful for someone who's in their 20s at this point. Crazy.
That's so
and
true.
To see the progression, but equally with the production value, like some of it is very experimental. It's so clean, it's so varied and kind of tangential, or meandering of this narrative that's unraveling, ultimately tragic, but kind of I think in all senses it's masterful. You know?
I think it is one album that fits the vinyl resting pace theme.
Oh, I'm glad.
You've done well. But like, this is an album that you should listen to all the way.
Its entirety.
Through. Yeah,
it is a concept album.
It is.
Its story has to be done. But this is coming back to what we were saying earlier. Like, I'd listened to it just as not as that before. I thought like, it was great, and not really sunk my teeth until I got it on as a record, which again lends itself to the podcast. Is like, you just put the record on start to finish, sit there and
let
listen
it
to
run. I think it's quite a taxing album.
Yeah, definitely.
And what we said earlier about it feeling longer than 30 minutes, like for someone who is appreciative and willing to take the time of it, great. But then I think that there is that element where it can almost drag out, and I think that's the nature of the drawling vocals and the flamenco
and
style.
It's almost, I mean, there's a great bit at the end here where Rosalía like cites her influences, both alive and past. But she speaks a lot about Pedro Almodovar. I don't know if you've seen the film
of course.
Which she was actually in. So that your degree was in
Spanish, and I still can't fucking speak it.
Well, this is count, man. It's a different story. But yeah, exactly the same with me. I had a friend who said that as I was going to film school, I'd not seen any Almodovar films. And like, you're going to film school? Like, what are you doing? Like, catch up. But she's actually in Pain and Glory, one of his most recent ones, as a sort of like quite a character. But she cites that a lot, and I think it fits really well because it's kind of got this, I don't know, grandeur of like melodrama that suits this, and it suits Motomami and suits
it's like the sonic version of like telenovela.
Exactly.
That's actually quite interesting. I as soon as you said it,
it makes
a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. That's where this album sits in, right? It's the intersection of all these disparate parts, but it's been made in a way that
so well put.
So it's just incredibly like well thought out, well constructed album.
And going back to that podcast, Rick Rubin's one. Say what you will about him, contentious character, but also a great influential character as well. And I think that Rosalía has found a lot of inspiration from him, from what she was saying on the pod. But there's an argument to be made, which I think it has been contested quite a lot, of taking appropriation, like taking traditional music and changing it. But that's evolution. You have to take the building blocks, and it's never the same. It's never the same thing. It's because it takes on embodies something else. It becomes a new thing entirely. But I think that from the flamenco community, there was a little bit of like people weren't so happy all the time.
It's interesting because I think sometimes you're always going to have people who push back against some of these progressions, but then these things are, like you say, part of evolution. But I think there are always these artists that start to break away from what is the traditional, but then still pay homage and
absolutely.
We were talking about like an Ezra collective. In terms of changing mindsets of like general UK fan bases. Like that was such a not even the Mercury album. What was the album that they did before?
It will come as an hour.
Do you know what is insane?
Yeah.
You Google them and the tag is hip hop group.
Really?
That's mental.
I guess that goes to show the fear of the word jazz.
Honestly. Chapter 7. Chapter 7.
Yeah.
So 2016.
Wow.
And like
that was the OG, wasn't it?
And I just remember whenever I just remember colonial mentality was such a like. I was like, oh okay. There is like I was aware of high life. That was what my parents used to do, but there was never that middle ground of being able to do something that is sonically reminiscent of what my grandparents listened to, and the Fela Kutis and all of that.
Fresh.
But then relates to not just like diaspora, but like our generation of diaspora as well. Like that is
making it relevant for a whole new generation.
100%, and there's value in that, and because 100%. Without that, then the traditional doesn't live on, because then there's not the people who are going back to who've now found a sound that they love, that they can go back to figure out who the originators of that were.
100%.
Like I think Rosalía is, I can't speak for the flamenco community, but I hope that I know you'd assume that because of the success that's come from it, that she's seen as that bridge as well.
I think you're right, and I think that there's a whole new generation of not only like younger people from Spanish-speaking societies and countries, but like us over here. It's so broad-reaching.
What is the best song on El Mal Querer?
It's hard because also I was thinking about this. There's the best and favourite, isn't there?
Yes. Okay. Cool. I respect that as a standpoint. So you will have to give me both.
Yeah. Okay.
If they're not the same
same
song.
I'm split because, like we were talking about, it's a concept, like it's a piece to its entirety. But I think that if I was going to have to pick, it would probably be number 10. Is it between chapter 4 and chapter 10?
Okay.
Just to give...
De aquí no sales y maldición.
Exactly.
For our Spanish speakers amongst us.
Who I will butcher it. I'm glad that you, like to say I can have a love and appreciation for, but for some reason it doesn't stick. But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
I actually owe a debt to whoever 6 years ago made this amazing article, Di Oliviero. If you're out there on Steam It, which I've never even heard of before, for making this translation and an interpretation of it, then thank you. This is
it saved your life. Absolutely life saving.
So it's I know it's not an answer. I'm not being specific because I'm giving a 3-pronged answer. Of like the 2 I think best songs on it is Diaqui Nosales, which is chapter 4, Disputa, which has just kind of got this like, it uses motorbike revving as kind of a percussional, bass line.
In headphones, it's a crazy listen because they split the audio.
It pans, it pans. Which is, you can see where it leads to Motomami, but yeah, I mean it's kind of very tragic in terms of its meaning, because it's essentially within the story the husband manipulating her,
right,
and abusing her. So it's kind of the most tragic point, and sort of gaslighting her basically into thinking that this is a positive thing, which is like true, is that how it actually goes down for psychological abuse and that sort of thing. But hence why I say number 10, because not only technically as a song, but yeah, it kind of is there for a really nice sense of release and relief, because it's maybe revenge is the wrong word, but it's the breaking point. Medicion, chapter 10, Condura, or Cordura, sorry. But yeah, in the tragedy of the story where she has this baby and the baby dies by him, she essentially reaches breaking point. She kills him. she reaches this point, it's like, you can't do it anymore. It's this sort of hopeless love that you're going to keep getting.
But I again, maybe like the telenovela side of it, I imagine in the original Spanish, like when you are listening to it, or when one first listened to it as it came out, you're emotionally tied to Rosalia's character. Like you want her to break free. You want that release for her to escape the situation that she's in. So there is that sense of like justice.
And it's a payoff to the tragedy, right?
And again, I'm probably gonna say it 10 different times over the course of this podcast, but so fucking well thought out. Like that is, as you come into the outro, as an audience member, as a listener, you can take a breath.
100%.
You're like,
okay,
like it's not a happy ending, but it's closure.
Exactly.
If Cordura is closure in Spanish, I swear I lose my fucking mind.
It's coming up with brands.
Great. Yeah. Sanity, which works.
Yeah, it's like
which
sanity,
works.
clarity. I think it works as such like a beautiful, I don't know, like fable for that story. Like you're right. There's a payoff that is so satisfying. It's sort of breathtaking when you actually hear it. And as well, I think it really lends itself, because for such a long time I was like, I hate autotune and that kind of thing. When I was like so naive as to like how awesome it could be.
It can be,
and how powerful a tool it is. But it is in a way, because it floats between obviously what is just sung and also what is autotune, and it works so well together.
No, definitely.
You know what I mean? That pitch finding and the and the movement between it.
Again, like testament to the production of it, because it's seamless. Like it works so well, and like I'm sure they took themselves to ad nauseum trying to get it right, but they
hours
did
on
end, just like listening back to the same 8 bars, being but it ends in a great project.
But going back to the original question, sorry, many tangential detours. But I think my favourite is probably the second song, which is, I suppose, closer to a kind of classical flamenco song. But it is that, I was thinking about what you said, if you showed this to someone who didn't necessarily usually listen to this sort of music, or I mean, anything like this, I was thinking, well, classical flamenco is probably even difficult, because in many ways it's more piercing, I think, with the vocal range.
That's the right word for
it. But it demands you to like
it makes you stand up and take attention,
or sit down and just watch.
You are locked in 100%.
You're involved within it, you're immersed within it. But I think the beauty of this is like it puts it in a new perspective, where it's just got this like fresh modern feel, and it kind of makes it more palatable. So I think 100%. I showed it to a housemate when at uni, I remember, and third year, and sort of, because I knew he liked sort of like more R&B kind of like that stuff, and he just listened to it on a loop. Absolutely loved it.
Obsessed.
I kind of didn't expect it.
Yeah,
but
like, this is what it
so
does.
good.
It makes it palatable. It makes it accessible.
Exactly.
I would love to talk about Motomami.
Yeah.
I think it will be, because we've alluded to it so much. So why don't we talk about Motomami
and then context,
and then any other albums that you have?
Yeah, I mean, it is such a beautiful follow-on, because it's kind of, I don't know, in many ways it's got more of like a jazz feel to it, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And then it kind of flits in between. It's very playful and kind of segmented. And there's so many different styles, but to me, we were talking about Rosalía sort of being this global phenomenon pop star, and this is like the living proof. Like I've yet to go and see her live. It will happen.
It has to happen.
It has to happen. There's no other choice.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the kind of, I can so see this in, and I guess the same with Beyonce's like trilogy. It is made as a studio album, like it's made as beautiful music made in the studio. It's not necessarily just designed to be toured out. No. But I can so see it
how
as
well
a
it
live
translates.
production.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like when you look at the artwork that goes along with it, your big poster. You look at the videos that go along with it. You look at the vibe around it. Like this, it is a very consciously overt album. This is made to be performed.
It's like a young auteur almost, you know. Everything is so intentional, and it's got like a lifespan. And, but I'm kind of gutted I didn't get to see this, because I know it was doing the rounds. But,
I bet it would have been an unreal show. And I think I was very late to the party with this album, and I don't think I actually listened to it for the first time until probably midway through last year. So I remember so clearly one of my mates being like, "Do you not like Rosalía?" I was like, "No, I'm a fan. I think she's talented." And he was like, "Why have you listened to it then?" I was like, "Okay, fine." And I was like, "Fairs." I got about halfway through, and I was like, "Shit, I probably should have listened to this."
But it's nice you can find it at a later point,
of course,
and it just goes to show. I think there's so much. Not throwing any shade, but I think there's so much stuff that comes out that's quite disposable. Yes. Or it's quite it's got its moment in the sun, which is great, and it's like people love it. Just thinking of a particular summer we've had, but also no shade, you know. But
don't get me started on that.
No. But I didn't need to say it. I'm glad
I'm right there.
Got it.
I'm actually right there with you.
Tinge of colour in the summer.
Some great marketing.
Exactly. It's an interesting comparison, right? Because this is like, if it feels like an artist like expanding their vocabulary and like that musically, and also just like playing around, like, having fun. There's some like club ready tracks on this, like, you know, Chicken Teriyaki or Bichito. But then there's like, it kind of goes back full cycle to the kind of you know, fables or melodrama, because there's some really beautiful orchestral pieces like G3, 915, or Hentai even. I think what I love about it is the fact that she can do something that is going to be commercially viable. She can do something that is bold and brash and sexy and all these things. But let's not forget, she's a musical prodigy. She's just a super talented musician. Exactly. She understands it, she gets it. And then throughout the album, I'm not saying that every song is a masterpiece and every song has these elements of like for want of a better word, like elevated musicality. But throughout the album there's these just little Easter eggs to let you know, like, hey, I know I'm doing all this and I'm this pop star, but like I can back this up. I really know what I'm doing, and it makes it such a pleasant listen to me for me, where like as someone who loves like to pick out a section, like whether it be the strings or the drums of an album, and those are the things that keep me coming back, because I'm going back to that like particular refrain or that particular like bridge or whatever it may be. There's 10, 20 different points in this album where you come back to it, you're like, oh, that just little section, if I could bottle it and play it on repeat, it's so lovely. And that's musicality at its peak. It works as a whole, but as each element is completely different, which I love, you know. I continually find things in this record, because I've it's also the curse of like music kind of constantly coming out and you feeling like you have to be on top of it. But it's nice you can kind of come back to things. I didn't listen to it when it initially came out, and my friend Tom, who actually gave me it as a present. So big up to Tom.
Got some good presents.
There you go. I know. But sort of saying like, you're gonna love this, and then I listened to it, I was like, I do love it. And then later that year I was like, that was a birthday present. So I mean, like, yeah, I'm kind of in awe. I'm so excited to see where it goes next. You know what I mean?
Before we move on, because I want to jump into a few of the more left field questions and get your take on that. What's better, El Mal Querer or Motomami?
Oh, you put me rock in a hard place here. Again, I think I'll go back to my like better and favourite. I chose El Mal Querer because it's, I don't know, I have more of an affinity for it because it was my entrance point. But El Mal Querer is like, as a piece of work, I think is just like beautiful and it's stunning. And when you, especially when you know all the context, it works just as a listen. But then when you know all the context, I think Motomami is just like bang. It just slaps. There's no other way to say it. It slaps hard.
I hear it.
And I think this has got like, this is like it's so exciting because it's got so much in it for so many different people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just kind of gassed to see where it goes next. So.
Definitely. I think the way that I would put it is, if I were to introduce Rosalía to someone,
I'd show them that. 100%. I'd
say
start with Motomami.
If you like that, go back to this.
I'd actually work backwards. Exactly.
100%.
I think that would be the perfect way to introduce someone.
Were there any other albums that weren't by Rosalía that could have been your vinyl?
There were a lot.
I'm just gonna say for context, I think Ed's changed his album choice like 6 times.
It was hard because I wanted to. I'm so glad we went with this because there's so much we get. It was like a springboard for lots of different things.
Yeah.
I was like rifling through. I was like, which avenue do I go down? It's painful. Like
DJs find this question the hardest.
I was thinking about this. I used to love, like Desert Island Discs and that sort of thing when I was like first a bit younger, like kind of getting into sort of music. And I don't know, it makes sense for people who aren't necessarily involved in music, but I don't know.
It depends how I feel.
It's like someone saying, "What's your dream meal?" It's like that changes.
Ask me in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to become wildly different.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I have talking about another queen of music. I have a real affinity for Dorothy Ashby, the harp player. First lady of sort of jazz harp and sort of laid the foundation. But so Afro Happening, I think, it's a lot of standards, but then it's also a lot of original tracks. It's just so beautifully. It's so beautiful. I think the harp is one of the most beautiful instruments ever made by humans.
So I'd never listened to Afro harping before, and that was one of the best like finds I've listened to this year, and I've listened to a shit ton of music. And like I'm not
it's gorgeous, isn't it?
For me personally, like I go through albums very like intentionally. Like if I'm in a bit of a like passive mood, I won't stick it on. I'll just listen to my So if I'm doing something for the podcast, I'll try and listen to it like so if I'll be doing it while I'm working or while I've got an activity going on in my head, and it was bliss to me. And then I didn't realise that when the standards come on, I was like, oh, I know this.
The melody on the riff.
And then and I was like, and then it's all on the harp, and it's just like this. It's just such it's easy listening to me in personified, like
absolutely. And I think that also is another thing that gets a bad rap of like, there's a particular ilk and era. I think with a lot of like Brazilian like samba music as well, or like smooth jazz that people go like, oh, it's lift along music. I won't hear it. There's no such thing, man.
There is place for it. There's
absolutely.
a place for it.
The amount this has been sampled is like unbelievable. I think Tribe has sampled a load of it. It's so beautiful. It is. It's so graceful and so beautifully put together. Saint Germain's self-titled album. Absolutely love it.
Not their best, but great album. But I think I understand.
First record I ever got.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the fucking first record I ever got? was actually Bonobo.
Oh, sick.
Black
Well, there you go.
Sands. Yeah, full,
I've yet to see him because he doesn't do.
He doesn't do it.
Which I kind of like it because it's Ludovic Noé, the producer, kind of facilitating a load of West Africa. I think mainly predominantly West African. From all over, and then taking other like samples and motifs and ideas. And just kind of giving them space to, letting that sing through the production. But I love it. You could play it to go to sleep to. You can play it on a sound system. I've done both, and it hits hard.
It does.
I know what you mean. I think like Tourist
is
just exactly.
I think it's similar to what we're saying about Rosalía. I think that self-titled album is potentially more artistically solid, but for me, Tourist slaps.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I guess that comes back down to the kind of like the favourite and what you think is musically the most kind of cohesive.
Not to make my whole thing here redundant, but it's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah. Think what you like. One opinion of many. I'm going to reel them off because there were others.
Go for
Places
it.
and Spaces by Donald Byrd. Genius. Gone through so many different transitional genres and decades. Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, favourite Led Zeppelin album, amazing. And then the other one I thought was a bit too esoteric and obscure, but I love it so much, came out last year, the year before? Yeah, last year. It's Recordings from the Åland Islands by Jeremiah Chu and Marta Sophia Holner. To talk about, very, very specific. But when you hear it, again, I think that's another one I'm going to have to lend you.
Yeah, definitely.
It's two artists who went to the archipelago islands just in the kind of Baltic Seas called the Åland Islands. You get something like 2 hours of 2 hours in the summer, 2 hours of darkness. Shit. That's it. It's just sort of perpetually bright. And they went to turn a old barn into a kind of hotel / artist in residence place. Okay. It's field recordings, it's samples, it's segmented. It's like a sonic collage.
Okay.
I think like what you're saying. Sometimes I'm more passively listening to music. Sometimes I'm more consciously listening, and I can do both of this because it's just beautiful. It's a lot of it's quite ambient and kind of neoclassical sort of style, but it's modular synths with violin basically.
Okay,
and that's it. Mixed with field recording samples. It's just stunning.
So it's like maybe like soundscapes almost.
Yeah, I think soundscapes, and we went to see them at King's Place. But it was almost like they'd done a series of gigs in churches when they record it, and some of that is the recordings from those gigs. And I always thought like it lends itself so well to a church in terms of the context. It's such a special album and record. But yeah, that's I was thinking about something I've listened to so much because it brings me so much like peace, but also it's so like creatively stimulating for me for like creative writing and filmmaking, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, bang.
Unreal.
So there you go.
There you have it, people.
And the other one that didn't make the cut for the snacks was kettle chips,
Flavour.
Sweet chili. Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do bang. They do bang. God. Great shout.
Nice. Covered a lot of bases.
We've covered a lot of bases. We've had a great time. I do want to round off because I want to hear your guilty pleasure / again, caveat for everyone listening at home. Listen to what you want to listen to.
Yeah.
No, there is absolutely no guilty pleasures.
That was what I wrote down. Guilty pleasures, no such thing. Because if you're into it, you're into it. Full stop.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. I don't know if there's anything that's like objectively bad that I enjoy. That makes me sound like, but what I mean is this kind of like I thought about what is my guilty pleasure, or more so like I don't think people would necessarily expect it. But metal, I think, of like my brother was a big metalhead, but it only seems to be. I used to be when I was driving. I used to drive a lot more, not needed in London.
Not needed.
Or in a foul, stinking mood. But like Lamb of God, Pantera, Cannibal Corpse.
Oh shit!
That used to be my kind of like. I'm not going to call myself a metalhead, but like occasional jump in, that sort of thing.
Fairs.
It's jazz with a different swing. The polyrhythms, you've got it all, man.
It's still not for me.
It's not your bag, yeah.
But I understand it. a lot more.
Yeah.
I think I can.
The technicality.
Yeah, I can remove
yeah.
myself from the situation of being
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not going to listen to this on a regular basis, but I get how I can get how someone can appreciate the art of this, 100%. And then if it's what you listen to, you've got somebody who is supremely talented at the thing that you love. So obviously it makes sense. Again, I think it all falls under the umbrella of listen to what you listen to, but it's interesting.
Context.
I wouldn't have had you down as someone who could get down
Rage
with
Against the Machine is like, that was my
Really?
go-to. Oh, I love it so much. But you know, like now I look back, like some of it is also just like classics, and another bits for I should listen back. I'm kind of like, I wouldn't like, you know, play it loads. I wouldn't play it out, for example. I wouldn't play it on the radio.
Yeah.
But do I still love it? Yeah. Does it still go hard? Yeah. And then I mean, it's not really a guilty pleasure because everyone loves it. But Frank Sinatra was like, that's my. You're talking about shower singing. That's my shower singing, and somewhat my karaoke.
Okay.
But my karaoke track, the one track
kills every time.
Funky Town by Lip Sync.
Really?
It goes off.
That is a really, really good karaoke song because it's one that is like a good song.
Yeah.
Two, gives you a little bit of vocal. You can give a bit of a dance to it, a bit of vocal range. Three, it gets the people going.
Oh,
gets people going. And there is, I think, because we talk about karaoke a lot. Obviously, it's one of our
yeah.
I think there is an issue where if you don't have all of those things, like you can have a song that gets the crowd going, but it's just a bit we've heard it so many times, we're a bit done with that. You get one that gets the crowd going and you can sing it and you have a bit of fun with it, but you can't boogie to it.
No.
You know,
it covers. That's why it covers all the bases. And you can also. There's so much range with it because you can do like right. You can go like classical, and then you can do the proper like high falsetto. But then you can also just say it, and I talk about 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 it. You know, you can speak, you can be poetic with it. You know, and you can ponder and make it more of a performance, and then you can just boogie to it.
And then you can just boogie to it.
It's
you
great.
let it drop it.
We've got literally at the top of our roads, shout outs to Village Square in Highgate. A partial shout out, hit or miss depending on the crowd you get.
That was a quick U-turn.
We've been in there sometimes and it's been golden vibes.
Okay.
Like it depends on the crowd that you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great karaoke.
Love
vibes.
that.
It's kind of seedy, but you know.
I think that's our next meeting.
Yeah.
We're carrying on the tradition of intentional meetups. We're gonna do some karaoke.
I think we should do a full karaoke and like have a bottle of white wine and then go and like
talk to me. Talk to me.
We'll slip straight in there.
No inhibitions whatsoever. I'm straight on stage. Sign me up. Ed, thank you so much for this. This has been a pleasure. This has been so good, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been great.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time in the making, and it's been totally worth it. I don't say it to everybody, but I do say it a lot. You are more than welcome back on vinyl.
I'd love to, and vice versa. Bring a bunch of records. On the Earth Groove show. And, it's exciting to see where, because I ultimately love the vision for Earth Groove, which not so much a vision because it's very attainable. Is to do zine pretty much. Do it in print and do a quarterly zine in which the content of it is tied to an event and vice versa, one or the other expanded, and make it so mixed medium across like fine art, digital art, musical reviews, sort of gallery exhibition reviews, conversations with artists across the boards. So it's exciting to see where that goes, but equally it's nice these sort of things where just give space to that, platform stuff as well. No, I mean, equally, not that Rosalía necessarily needs the platform, but equally, I didn't find too much commentary like about the ins and outs of this, which is kind of a modern story of domestic abuse, but like in a super empowering and amazing way. Like, it just feels so urgent and relevant.
100%. And I think 6 years is a long time, but the point that you can take away, especially understanding the story, is that this was something that was from the 13th, 14th century. It was relevant in 2018. It's relevant in 2024. It's a story that should be told. And that
demands to be heard.
Exactly, 100%. 100%. And I'm glad that you brought it on. I think it's a perfect sort of Vinyl Resting Place album, and I
so
think
glad.
it's the sort of story that we look for. It's interesting, it's engaging. You have the passion for it. Which is lovely.
Yeah.
It was a blast, man.
I loved it.
I really enjoyed it.
My
really
absolute
enjoyed
pleasure.
it.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you so much for listening at home. You can find all of Ed's socials in our descriptions. He'll be tagged in all the posts and the TikToks as well.
Ed is edible. It comes quite nicely into one thing.
It's really good.
When people ask, I'm just like, there you go.
There you go.
Ed is edible.
Ed is edible. Follow Earth Grooves and get down to an event as well, because I'll be there. Please do like, follow, subscribe, all the fun stuff for Vinyl Resting Place, and we will catch you next week. Peace.
Bless.